Oh, hello, everybody. This is amazing. Just to see so many of you, and thank you for giving up time in your day for joining this Zoom call. So I think most of you know who I am, but for those of you who don't, I'm Vanessa Harwood-Witcher, and I'm the Director of Professional Services at IOSH. And I'm joined by a couple of other colleagues who are going to be presenting very briefly today. So that's Maria O'Malley. Maria, give us a wave. Excellent.
Hi, everybody.
And Laurence Dufour. Hi, Laurence. And then Hi. I can see that we've also got our lovely regional managers on the call as well, and Charlotte as well. So hopefully, oh, and Sarah as well, as I look down. So hopefully I can see everybody. So quite difficult to see everybody's facial expressions. So again, if you've got a question, please do post it into the facility, and Carrie will try and keep an eye on that. So I'm going to attempt to screen share now. So bear with me one moment. Excellent. Well, welcome to today. Really, the main part of today is to give you the opportunity just to ask us anything you'd like to at the moment. Obviously, realise that we're working in really strange circumstances at the moment. But we also wanted just to give you a little bit of an update on what we've been doing, because we've been keeping busy trying to make sure that, well, firstly, we keep the ship afloat and keep all our services going for members. But secondly, actually looking at what extra we can do, and Maria will sort of take us through that. But I want to start just by saying thank you. I cannot believe the agility, the flexibility that branches have shown during this period. Absolutely amazing. I know it's dire circumstances at the moment, and I know everybody will be under huge pressure, you know, whether that's extra pressures from work. I know we've got quite a few key workers that are still having to keep the fort rolling, you know, whether you've been having to care for people that have not been so well, whatever. I just think it is absolutely amazing that we've managed to keep everything going for our members. So just a massive thank you. And I want to do a little bit of a shout out, if I can, to some of those branches and districts that have really been pulling out the stops over the last few weeks. So just in April alone, we've had 15 branch Zoom meetings and around about 1,000 attendees to these virtual meetings, which, you know, blows the mind. Obviously, I've been following where I can on LinkedIn to sort of see the publicity around many of the events and webinars that you've been doing. But again, just to call out some of those and to say a special thank you to those branches. So Manchester and North West districts, you've had webinars attracting 225 people, which is more than double the normal attendance at physical meetings. Fantastic, especially given that the first webinar that you did was turned around in 5 days and wasn't publicised through the sort of Connect diary on a Thursday that gets sent out. So phenomenal. And I note that also you've got webinars booked every other week until September now, which really is superb. Next meeting will be a question time style virtual meeting with exclusive invites to members. Up north a bit further now, up to the west of Scotland, we know that you've adapted your monthly IPD and CPD support meetings to group virtual meetings, and that you've got 2 new mentees as a result of that. Again, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we want to keep the support going for people who are on their journey to chartered, so it's good to know that we can continue to do that. In Yorkshire, you've had your first webinar and attracted 270 attendees, which is the highest rate across the UK branches. Well done, Yorkshire. Hong Kong and Singapore, you held a joint webinar in both English and Cantonese, and that had 3,641 attendees, so truly record numbers there. Staffordshire attracting double the number of attendees compared to physical branch meetings, and Chiltern holding weekly branch meetings focusing on underlying themes of psychological safety and preparing members for what comes next. So again, really practical help out to members. I think the thing that really struck me when I was doing my evening trawls of LinkedIn was also just how much collaboration is going on between you all, and perhaps even more so. I'm kind of wondering if that's because of the opportunity to share online, but again, just to sort of note some of those, Singapore and Manchester coming together for a joint virtual branch meeting next week, this week now I think. Manchester and South Cumbria, you have a virtual branch meeting in May, Yorkshire and Chiltern in September, and Manchester and Merseyside in July. So phenomenal, really, really big thank you. I suppose I've got a bit of a question for you, just to sort of check in and see how it's working for you. So I've got a poll that I'm going to try and launch online. It'd be great to just get a little bit of a response from you. So how are you finding holding these virtual meetings? Launching now, so hopefully you can see that. Please do vote. It's like being on the telly. Excellent. Good, good. Voting's creeping up. Wow. Good stuff. Excellent. So it looks like my maths is terrible. 71% of you are saying that it's either excellent or good. So really pleased to sort of see that. I realise that it must be phenomenally difficult to shift everything that you're doing, which is normal, into this sort of new way of doing things. So we really, really appreciate it. Right, I'm going to attempt to get my screen share back again now. Okay, so yes, just a really big thank you from us. We really, really appreciate it. And obviously, if you want more support, our regional managers are there to help you along the way. I'm going to hand over to Maria now, and she's going to share with you a little bit about what we've been up to in the background to help you understand, and hopefully so you can share that with colleagues back on your committee and with your members as well. So Maria, I'm going to press the forward slide, and hopefully it'll work.
Okay, thanks Vanessa. So as Vanessa said, there's some amazing work that's happening at branches right now, and we do badly need this at this time, as you will all know. A sense of belonging, community is important to our members now more than ever, so it's amazing that, you know, branches have really stepped up on this. So I just want to echo Vanessa's thanks and say thank you again for that. So as Vanessa said, we're working on a whole host of other ways, you know, alongside all the virtual offerings that the branches are working on to support members through this health crisis. So I'm going to cover these off for you now, and there's going to be a whole list of links at the end of this. So there's further information should you need it. But if you do have any questions on any of these things, obviously this is the purpose of today. It's to provide you that question and answer support. So I'm happy to delve into any of these in more detail if you do need me to give that. So firstly, hopefully you'll all be aware that we're doing weekly webinars at the moment with the World Health Organization, and we've had a fantastic response in respect of that so far. So we had over 3,000 people sign up for the first webinar that we did with the World Health Organization, and we alternate these every week. So there'll be a WHO webinar one week and then a more IOSH based webinar the following week. And we've been topping over 2,000, I think, every single week that we've been doing these. So it's been a great engagement rate for those. Some of these benefits and other activities I'm going to go into are either things that we've already got and we're altering and adapting to meet the needs of members right now, or are brand new. So there's quite a mix of different things going on here. The Career Hub is something that you've all should have received a communication on. We're going to be releasing that to members today. We've had this available for student members since last year, but we're now launching it out to the full membership. We've actually sped up the launch on this, so we were intending to launch this much later, but knowing that our members are in need of career advice at this time, some people are, you know, facing financial hardship, they may be experiencing job losses. We thought it was really important that if we could speed things up, that we did. So the Career Hub is one of those benefits that we have actually released at an early date. So you'll have the opportunity later to go and have a play around yourselves, but it's full of all sorts of soft skills, business skills, training and support, as well as general advice on how to write CVs, prepare for interviews, that kind of thing. So that's going to be a fantastic resource for our members. The Future Leaders community is something that's been up and running since November of last year. So this is specifically targeted to our new and aspiring professionals, but we are promoting it more from the angle that because we do have a platform for these new and aspiring professionals to actually meet up online and network and share good practice and get support from each other, that these new members and new professionals can actually tap into that during this period where they might not be able to be getting that face-to-face right now. So our advice and practice team have been busy working on all sorts of technical knowledge to specifically support people through COVID-19. So you would have been hopefully seeing some of this pop up through your LinkedIn feeds. So we've been communicating that through all of our channels, as I say, LinkedIn being one of the primary ones, but the IOSH website, through Connect too. So there's always lots of different advice going out there. Oh, sorry, I think you might have skipped. There we go. Thanks, Vanessa. So, you've gone back a little bit too far. But the first, yeah, there we go, student bursary. So this is something we've had but paused for some time, and we've taken the pause off. It's something that the education account manager's been working on, but again, it's something we've fast-tracked because we understand that particularly our student members will be going through some difficult times right now. So we launched that a couple of weeks ago, last week even. So that will hopefully be a great resource for those student members who are eligible to access. Financial support, the benevolent fund is there for members who are experiencing extreme hardship, and we've been re-promoting that recently. In terms of members that might not be able to access the benevolent fund but are still experiencing hardship and do need that extra financial support, we do have quite a good range of support available through our concessionary fees. So the advice that we've been giving to people is if they contact the customer service centre, we can explore what options might be relevant for their circumstances. And there are a number of different things we can do to help members, but the concessionary fees do fit a lot of the scenarios that are most frequently occurring right now. So just following on from that, our customer service centre and professional development teams are still open for business as usual. We were quite good at being able to move all of our teams at IOSH into remote working, so it hasn't had an impact on the service we've been providing to members. So please do encourage members, if anyone goes up to you, contacts you virtually during these remote working times and needs that extra support from us, we're available by Zoom, by email, by phone. We can still help with CPD and IPD support or any other member related queries. So please do tell them to come to us for that. And following on from that, when I say IPD support, we're still running all of our chartered peer review interviews in a business as usual way. We're doing it differently, so everything is now virtual. We're doing those by Zoom, and that's been very successful so far. So it's been great. The team have just picked that up. So anyone who's up, and I think I've spotted a few of you who are actually on the peer review panels joining us today. So hopefully you've been involved in that too. So there's been some great work in respect to that. We're still helping people progress to chartered, even though obviously things are very different at the moment. We've also been providing a lot of advice on how people can maintain their CPD during COVID-19, and they might not be able to access things in quite the same way as before. The IOSH mentoring platform is something that we are promoting as a way for extra support that people might be able to gain some benefit from. That's all done virtually, so that's still business as usual. And yes, as I said, you're all doing branch meetings and events online too. So there's a lot going on for members right now, and it's wonderful that we can actually provide all of this to them. But we're not resting there. You know, we're still busy working on other things. Chris Kurlek, our member engagement manager has been working with the rest of the team in making sure that we've got some great member benefits during this really difficult time. And as I said earlier, we've got a whole list of links here. So if you do want any further information on any of the things I've just mentioned, you'll be able to find those online. We have been promoting them on things like LinkedIn. So if any of you are active users of LinkedIn, please feel free to share any of these posts when you see them popping up. We're always quite, mindful to do that ourselves, but obviously your networks will contain the members from your branches, so you'll have a wider reach in many cases. So the more we can share these things, the better. And so yes, that's it from me. So I'll pass you on to Laurence now. Oh, sorry, actually, one last slide. Skipping ahead a little bit too far. So this is very important. So yes, even though things are very different right now and we're having to adapt and change things, we are still determined that we're going to be running things as business as usual as much as we possibly can. And one of the business as usual activities that we're doing, or that we're undertaking, is looking at an operational strategy for our branches. So some of you would have been approached to take part in a focus group in June. We were having some discussions within the team about whether or not we should still go ahead with that, with everything that's happening. But we've been able to demonstrate that we're able to actually run a lot of these meetings and events virtually with quite a lot of success. So there's absolutely no reason we think that we can't hold this focus group. Obviously it won't be face-to-face as we'd originally hoped. So we need to think about how we can maximise the virtual time that we have effectively. So that focus group will still be happening in June. And those of you that have been invited to that, you'll be getting more information on that soon. We were hoping to run a team away day. So the networks area, the branch area, sits within the membership engagement and development team, which also comprises of the professional development team who look after CPD and IPD, and also member engagement. And as I said earlier, the manager of that area is Chris Kurelek. So the three teams were supposed to be getting together to have a strategy day, which was supposed to be informing that first focus group we were having in June. Unfortunately, we had to cancel that. So we're going to have to rejig things a little bit, but we're still going to go ahead with that focus group. And this will be very key for us in determining, what it is that the aim of branches are and the purpose of branches. It will help us identify some quick wins and build some KPIs together in terms of how we need to be measuring what branches are doing. And that this sorry, anyone who's not muted, if you could just please pop yourself on mute.
I'm muted and I'm just observing at the minute.
That's okay. So yes, it's just yes. Sometimes it's easy to forget that you may not be on mute, and then there's background noise that creeps in. So that's the first phase of our consultation process. We'll be analysing the feedback from that focus group, sharing that with the wider branch network, and this will then form the second part of the strategy building, which is the decision making part. And this will be then fed back to the Chairs Day, which for the moment is earmarked for September 2020. As I said, we've had to be quite adaptable in how things are panning out because of how things are unfolding with COVID-19. We would like to hold this in September, but we'll have to let you know if that's still the case. So just watch this space. We'll keep you informed every step of the way, but at this point in time, we can't say for sure that it definitely will be happening, or at least if it is, it may or may not be a face-to-face meeting. But it's important that we get some of that feedback at that point, because we would like to then share those findings with the Performance and Development Committee. And for those of you that don't know, the Performance and Development Committee is the committee of the Board of Trustees that has the remit to oversee the networks area. So we'll be sharing those feedbacks with the Performance and Development Committee at their November meeting, and then this will come back out to the Networks Conference, hopefully in November 2022, as part of that implementation strand. So happy to answer any questions in respect to that later on if you'd like me to. But I believe that is my last slide. So I will now hand it over to Laurence. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everybody. So just a very quick recap. I'm conscious a lot of you have received a lot of communication from us in the last few weeks. And it can be tricky because some of you want more communication. Some of you are saying, oh, it's too much. At the moment, we're trying to tailor our communication to you as much as we can through the regional manager. Because some of the general communication we send, for example, on the postponement of the AGM will vary depending on your circumstances. So a very quick recap, as you hopefully all know, the AGMs have been postponed for UK and Ireland until next year. And there was a communication sent from Vanessa last Monday regarding this and the co-options options that you have. So again, we want to work very closely with you and adapt and tailor to your needs. Some of you will hopefully keep running on as normal, and some of you will need to co-opt some new members in the committee. Again, we'll work with you and adapt to your need on that. In terms of the volunteer agreement, as you know, we're rolling this out, and a reminder is sent every week to all our volunteers. As of this morning, 76.5% of all our volunteers had signed the volunteer agreement. So we still have just over 200 volunteers to sign that, which is good, which is really encouraging. So as you know, this is signed through Meta compliance. So when any update on policies and things relating to the volunteer agreements are made, you'll be notified of that. However, there's a declaration of interest that is sent to you to sign every year, and that's due to be sent to you shortly as well. So just to watch out for that. In terms of the regional managers, we'll be interviewing this week for regional manager for Ireland. So fingers crossed we can soon find a regional manager who can help support our branches in the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland very soon. So we'll keep you updated on that. We also have a colleague, Emmeline Heafy, some of you might know her, who'll be starting a 9-month secondment with us from next week, and she'll help us support our overseas branches in addition to Ireland, because I'm conscious some of our branches have not had that regional manager support. Because Emmeline is already working in our professional development team, she'll be up and running fairly quickly for the support for our branches. Then very soon we'll be starting a procurement process, because of course we'll be looking at employing a consultant for supporting our overseas branches as well. But the support from Emmeline for that 9 months will give us that kind of a buffer to enable us to do this. So in terms of the FAQs, I've seen questions popping up in the chat, and I've tried to keep up a little bit, but we've come across a lot of questions through the regional manager or directly to us. So again, to reiterate that anything that's not answered today, we will not only have the recording of this, but also collate all the questions and get back to you with an answer to everything that you've asked through the chat or verbally later on. But just again to emphasize that our key focus at the moment, of course, is to support the members through the virtual offerings that you can provide. And again, thank you for adapting and being so flexible on that. We've had to learn pretty quickly as staff as well. You know, things are changing all the time. Zoom has just had an upgrade, so we're looking at new functionalities in terms of security, in terms of the polls and various things that we can offer to provide a more professional service. Hopefully, most of you will understand the difference between a virtual meeting and a webinar. That's quite a key difference to understand. What we're doing right now is a virtual meeting, sorry, which I think is really good, and it tends to be best suited to most branch meetings because you can see the participants, there's more interaction happening, they're very easy to set up, very flexible. As a webinar, is a lot more for a bigger audience. So virtual meeting can cater up to 300 delegates. Webinars are a lot more for, this is a speaker with a presentation and there's a little bit less interaction, but they're really good for a larger audience, like I said. So again, we have guidance on this. We can set up tests, and if you've not had any training or discussion with your regional managers, please bear in mind we're working with you in making sure you understand that to adapt to the need of your members. We're also trying to look at promoting cooperation with other branches. It's already happened with some of you. Avoid duplication of topics, and Renuka mentioned a calendar of events as well. So we're conscious of that. We really want to provide a good customer experience for our members, so that they see all our webinars and all our virtual meetings listed in one place and advertised regularly, because of course now the geographical boundaries have broken down a little bit. So the world is our oyster, but there's still a need for your local expertise and catering for your members locally, like little drop-in sessions and things like that. So bear that in mind. We've recently had questions about producing podcasts and little YouTube video as well, and I think that's a great idea. So again, let's work together and bear with us. It's a little bit of trial and error for us and for you. So yeah, let's explore and let's expand on what we can offer. Yeah, I've seen a few questions on email addresses for branches as well. Without going into too much details, most of you will probably know we're rolling out the IOSHnetwork.com addresses for all the branches, which will look a lot more consistent and professional. This will also give you access to cloud storage. So we're just in the process of rolling that out gradually. But again, if you have more specific questions on that, we can respond to that. So I think I'm going to stop here and see if we want to take questions verbally or review what we've received through the chats.
I'm happy to ask my question verbally if you want to.
Yes, please, Renuka. Hi.
Hi. So in fairness, it's quite frustrating to be asking this almost a year later, and I don't think either you didn't understand it or misunderstood it, so apologies for that. The global calendar that the chairs and the branches are asking for is not of the advertised events. It's events to help us internally when you're planning. And we asked for this in June 2019, and then at the Chairs Day, and then I followed it up, I know, with you multiple times, and I've got no answer. The reason for this is, if I'm planning a speaker, let's say whoever it might be, Captain Tom Moore, in 3 months' time, there's no point if bless him, Richard or Alan or whomever else are also planning, they don't realise that I'm planning this, and we end up with 3 branch meetings with the same speaker. If we have a central function where we can just go in and pencil in for this month, this date, this is what we're thinking, people can log on and go, brilliant, we can now advertise this, or actually I'll link up with them. It's just frustrating that it's taken so long and I'm having to ask it again. So is there any definitive answer as to when we might get this resource that is really needed? Because one of our taglines is collaborate, and this is not helping.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Ranuka. Yes, I know it's frustrating. I hear you, and apologize for that. We rely on some of the technology and our customer database and the technology that has been put on hold a little bit. So we're conscious this is a really key a tool that we want. We're really conscious we want more cooperation and more coordination of everything that's happening. So bear with us, please, and we're working on it.
I can perhaps add into that IOSH hasn't been very organised generally about events and calendarising them. So even with the ones that we run internally through staff, we've not had one central source of truth about this, and it's again, Ranuka, I think I've probably been nagging even longer than you have about that one. So I'm pleased to say that we've done some restructuring within the events and the comms team, who primarily are the gatherer of that information and obviously the pushers outers of that information, and we now have for the first time a centralised calendar, which I'm sure we'll be able to add into that, because I think it's not just looking at what branch to branch is doing or group to branch, it's also other stuff that's going on, so that I guess ultimately we're offering as much value to members as we possibly can do, so that you haven't got sort of 27 different events on fire safety and nothing on PPE, for example.
And just to add to what Vanessa said, we are working on this structured and formal content calendar, and one of the views behind this is to work 12 to 18 months in advance, because we know that the branches are putting together their programme of events and neat branch meetings, 12 to 18 months in advance. And we've never really provided that clarity in terms of, what we want to be setting out for the next 12 months to our networks. So this is for the sector groups too. So when you're actually building those programme of events, you can actually connect that and align that to the central kind of content calendar. So as Vanessa said, there have been lots of gaps. So we are sorry about that, but we are working on fixing those problems, and we have got a positive way of moving forward on that.
Can I, if I speak, I use my little blue hand. I think at Chiltern we made a really early decision that we can use Zoom. Let's use it. But my biggest concern has been around the security of that. So with the very first session that we had, which Darren came in from with some of the guys from Singapore, which we had a fantastic session, but somebody kind of bombed our chat right at the end. The last session that they had in Nigeria, it was even worse. So I know I've worked with Carrie on some of this, but I have been concerned that the guys we need you guys at IOSH to really guide us and support us in terms of making sure that we're creating the right settings for this. And I know, because I've just had a message from Tudor saying he's dropped out and he can't get back in again now. And there are ways around some of this, but it's in the back end of the system. And we kind of need to rely on you that we don't have to worry about the admin regarding this. And I think the security of anybody hosting those events is really important. And most of the questions that I've ended up, I've spoken to quite a few people on these tiles actually about how we're doing it. And I think they're coming to me because it's not coming from the centre. And absolutely reinforce what Ray's saying, we have to have that kind of central list of sessions, because I don't feel our sessions are really being promoted enough, and we've had kind of world-class speakers and sort of 25 in attendance, because we're a small region and I can only send a mailer out to our small region. And you know, we are an adaptable bunch. We need to be allowed to be, you know, we can do this. We're all professionals. We're adaptable. It is incredible what everybody's done. But we need that kind of underlying support rather than management, if that kind of makes sense, so that it's facilitated for us.
Can I just answer Louise's question on security? Because I've run some webinars with the South Downs branch, and also being a bit of an IT geek, just for all of you chairs out there, when you run a Zoom meeting, one of the key things to get from your relationship manager is the host ID from their Zoom. Now, I've done this with Natalie, and that means that Natalie can then assign you the host for that meeting. Once you have host control, you can force everyone to be muted, so they cannot be unmuted. You can also force it that only hosts and co-hosts can share screen, which will stop people Zoom bombing. And you can also force people not to be able to unmute themselves. So the controls are there, but it does rely to have a quick conversation with your relationship manager before.
Yeah, so the controls are there, but I think that
well, I'm happy outside this meeting to run through this with anyone that just wants a bit of a Zoom coaching session.
Because even though some of those controls have been in place for some of the meetings, if the links is that we mustn't advertise the links, we should only advertise the meeting ID, because people can hack it if they've got the link to a meeting. They can't hack a webinar, but they can hack a meeting if they've got the link. We should only be advertising the meeting ID, but it's things like this. We shouldn't be risk assessing. For me, that should come from somebody in IT at IOSH. There should have been a risk assessment when the first 2 incidents happened.
Yeah, but you can, when even if it's just a normal Zoom meeting, I don't know who's the host here at the moment. Is it you, Vanessa?
Oh, there are several of us with the power.
Well, whoever's got the power, if you look at your menu, you'll be able to see that you can actually block, even locking people, you can actually block people from sharing their screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can mute people and all sorts.
If it's hacked, they can take over hosting, which is what happened to Sunita in Nigeria.
Okay.
So one of the things that we have done is upgraded the version of Zoom that we're using, and trying to make sure, obviously, that we avoid the situations that Louise referred to, because clearly they're not acceptable. Just the same for you, it's new for us as well. We've used Zoom for internal meetings and things, but not to this scale. So to a certain extent, we're having to be agile too. So we have risk assessed it. In fact, it's on our risk register. We've been discussing at SLT about how we can put more checks and balances into place. So please be assured that Jim and his team are doing everything from a sort of software point of view to make sure that we're as tight as we can be. I mean, I noticed at lunchtime that we'd posted a direct link to a webinar for one of the branches through LinkedIn, which takes you directly into joining the Zoom meeting. So it's perhaps just being aware also that, you know, we can't control that from HQ. So it's about just being aware of what you're doing as best you can. I know it's new to all of us, but we will make sure that we do as much as we can. Obviously, if you're in doubt, then the regional managers are there to help you. Carrie gave Laurence, Maria and I a jolly good briefing before this to make sure that we were doing things properly. So I can certainly vouch for Carrie. She's very bossy.
Harry, you were amazing. You weren't bossy at all.
I think she's been incredible. You're all
Obviously, we love
amazing,
Natalie
but
as well.
Carrie's been amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I can see Mark has raised his hand. Mark, did you want to chip in with a question or a comment?
Yes, please, Vanessa. Mark Brown, Chair, IOSH Southwest Branch. Hopefully you're primed from my earlier question on the message, but it's a technical question. I don't know if you can answer it now. You might need to take it away to get a policy decision on this one. But it's concerning the use of the committee mailer. And in these times, we've been offered by SSG a free webinar. Now, I'm told, because obviously it's a private company and it's not an IOSH meeting, essentially, that we can't use committee mailer to advertise it. Now, bearing in mind SSG is an IOSH accredited training provider, and the treasurer of the IOSH Southwest Branch Committee is in fact a SSG employee herself. Could we have dispensation to advertise via the committee mailer this free SSG seminar to the Southwest Branch members via the committee mailer?
It's a good question, Mark. There are a couple of things running through my mind. So I guess the content would be of interest and use to members in the branch. There's potentially a slight conflict of interest there that I think we'd need to explore. So happy to take the conversation offline, I think, so I can understand it in a bit more depth. There may be other ways of being able to promote it other than that, is kind of what I'm thinking as well. So not sure I can give you an immediate response on that, sorry.
Okay, if you can get back to me on that one, you know, as soon as you can, because obviously they're waiting in the wings there, and these webinars are scheduled, and obviously the time is marching on, and if we can't let the membership know they're there, you know, it's just relying on finding them on the World Wide Web, which they won't do unless we give them a little help, and the committee made it an ideal tool to do that. Yeah,
it's just difficult because they have a position on your committee, and obviously there's a financial interest in the company. I recognise, I think you're saying that the course would be free. So yeah, let's take that offline if that's okay, but we'll do that shortly. Right, any other questions? I've been jotting down a few, trying to scroll down through the list. So in no particular order, I think Louise was asking about some introductory slides. I think Chiltern Branch have done a very good job on those introductory slides, so it might be easier.
Have you seen my cartoon?
Yeah, because you post them all on LinkedIn, which is fabulous. So yeah, it's a good way for me to look at what you're doing.
I do that on purpose because then I think other chairs can see them.
Yeah. And
they don't have to reinvent the wheel. But actually, if that kind of thing was coming from the centre, it would save a lot of time from our part. But it shouldn't stop chairs from actually keeping an eye on what's going on the website as well. But I think you and I have spoken about that before. But yeah, my little cartoon character is quite cute.
Laurence, do you want to say anything around that? Because I know this is on the list, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, it's back to that coordination piece and sharing best practice. And in fact, I'm just wondering whether we could maybe organize a little virtual meeting like this, purely to give a bit of a briefing training session to any of you and any of your committees, because I know we've provided guidance and you've had one-to-one support with the RM, but maybe like a little sharing best practice, and Keith might have some tips, or some of you. So if there's an interest, maybe that's something we can do. And again, having not only the FAQs, but the best practice and the rolling kind of advice that we can provide to you consistently.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds like Louise has done a starter for 10 already, so it might be about having permission to steal them and work from those.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rather than trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, no, I mean, anything that, you know, and I know most of the people that I'm looking at here is that I give everything that I've done willingly. So, you know, and I'm sure everybody else is the same. There's no point in us reinventing the wheel. We're all busy people, so.
Yeah, and I would say the slide that had all the hyperlinks on was inspired by the Chiltern branch, Louise, that I just, or Maria showed you earlier. So we put that together so you can literally just lift it out and put that into your presentations with your branch members, because it does have the links to probably the sort of key bits of information that folks are going to want to see at the moment. So again, do feel free to nick it. That's why it was put in there. There was a question on what's happened to the professional development programme for experts? I think that was, I'm paraphrasing slightly. I can't remember who asked that now, but could you clarify what the question was? Just trying to scroll back.
Yeah, it was me that asked the question.
Thanks, Gary.
I'll just get it up and I'll read it out properly. So, IOSH Work 2022. There's a lot of focus around collaboration around the Future Leaders Programme and what's available for them. And I've actually seen it in practice, and it's a good idea. And there's a lot of young people obviously getting into that. But it also mentions in there that as well as getting new blood into there, there's a professional development programme for health and safety experts. Now, there'll probably be a lot of people, whether an expert or a good generalist, that might be interested in that, but I can't find anything whatsoever that's pushing that forward.
There are a few things.
It's 2020 now.
Yeah, there are a few things that we are doing, and there's still more that we could be doing. So we obviously have the CPD programme of training courses that run regularly. Quite a few of them run out of the Grange, and they are sort of aimed, you know, the experienced professional as opposed to the sort of first timers in the future leaders side of things. The other thing that's been going on in the background, and I have been operating a slight sweatshop, although they kill me for calling them that, is our advice and practice team, who are the IOSH professionals that sit within our directorate, have been working on a huge amount of content, so not courses but self-serve content that will be attached to the next version of Blueprint. So when that goes live, there'll be a mass of stuff in there as well, which again will help with CPD. Maria, I don't know whether you want to say anything a little bit about what Chris is working on in terms of trying to sort of segment up services for members so it's not just a one-size-fits-all.
Sure, thanks, Vanessa. So yes, as you noted, Gary, there's a lot going on with the Future Leaders programme, and really this was the first step in this segmentation process that Vanessa's just alluded to. So we've broken down our membership into different segments according to career stage, with the new and aspiring professionals at the beginning of their career journey, and obviously people will then progress as they move along their career pathways. So Chris is a fairly new addition to the team. He only actually joined us in August last year, but he's been doing some great work so far. So I have to remind myself he's only been around for a few months. So he has been kind of dealing with this segmentation in a logical way. So this is why we've started at the beginning, and we are working towards meeting the needs of our members throughout their career journey. As Vanessa said, for too long we've been providing our membership offering on a one-size-fits-all basis, which hasn't really worked. So regardless of the fact that you're an affiliate member or chartered fellow, you've been getting exactly the same benefits from us. And clearly that hasn't been working. And we do know, in order to be relevant, but also to ensure that we're supporting our members in the correct way and developing them as the leaders of the profession. And as you move up the grades to chartered, if we're saying that these are the gold standard of IOSH professionals, what are we doing to ensure that gold standard keeps at that level, and what are we doing to develop members? So we've been behind the scenes developing all sorts of things to actually segment our membership offering, as I say, according to those career stages. So there'll be more and more things being released as time goes on, and particularly in a very tailored way. So it's not that we're going to be releasing everything to everyone in the same way. We will be breaking it down to you as an individual according to where you are in your career journey. And there's other things in the background that are going to be helping to support this. So we're working on a new CRM that's going to help immensely with this, because currently the CRM that we have just isn't really fit for purpose in terms of helping us create that tailored offering. So to answer your question, we're getting there, and we're really conscious that we need to be moving in that direction. So yes, and if you want to have any more kind of information on all the different things that Chris is working on, please do drop me a line and I can share that with you.
Okay, thanks, Maria.
I think that there's an awful lot, and we've been really under-resourced in the area. So you might have seen that we've been advertising for some coordinators to come and work in Chris's team, and that's because Chris's pair of hands is not enough for us to move at the speed that we want to. So, we've got a deliberate decision now about investing in making sure that each type of member is basically getting a customised set of products and services that are right. I mean, I'm so conscious that at the sort of fellow end that we do so very little for fellows, and particularly compared to other professional bodies that I've worked in. So I need to get my team in place and get them up to speed, and then we're all guns raging on that one. So, but we've got a little bit now. I sort of touched on one of the other questions, which was, can we have an update on Blueprint and CPD and what's happening with those? So good news is that the software that runs the new version of Blueprint is complete. Our new CPD scheme work is complete and all signed off by council and approved. We are literally just waiting for our new customer relationship management system to come in place to be able to launch it, because the way that you access those systems is through something called single sign-on, and unfortunately our current system doesn't allow us to be able to do that. So we have been looking with great scrutiny at the speed at which the CRM's coming in. I know many of you will have heard Jim talking about these at previous events that we've had. We so went back to basics really with the project to look at why it was taking so long. Briefed in our board and also council about some of the difficulties that we've had with the project, and we've actually switched suppliers because we weren't getting the level of service from the suppliers. And I have to say, the momentum that we now have with the new suppliers, we've done more in a couple of months than we have in sort of nearly the 2 years it feels like that I've been here. So we're hoping that Jim's team will hand off the system to us sort of late summer, early autumn. We will then need to do some testing, and again may well need some volunteers such as yourselves to come in and see if you can help us to break the system, because it's different to IT people testing to real people testing things. So I hope that we will be in a position to be able to release out the new version of Blueprint and CPD scheme shortly after that. We can't wait because most of it's ready, and it's very frustrating that the final hurdle is just getting it to you. But the good thing is it's one of our priority projects, so all the resources in place. Our suppliers are working throughout COVID as well, and we've been doing everything virtually with them, so it's still moving at the pace that we were expecting it to. Okay. Got another question on with the AGMs not happening until next year, what happens around the financial accounts and how will they get managed without the AGM taking place? If I'm completely honest, I don't know the answer to that question. So I'm sort of looking at my colleagues in the Global Networks team. Do you know the answer to that one? Or is that something we'll need to refer back to our governance and finance colleagues?
No, sorry, we'll find out that afterwards.
Yeah, if it involves numbers, it's never very good to ask me. Right. Somebody else has asked, is the voluntary volunteers agreement mandatory? Yes, it is. I think that's a fairly simple answer. So obviously we need to make sure that everybody is working according to a common set of standards, and so it would be unfair when the majority have signed up that those that didn't are still continuing to work in the old way. So we would encourage everybody to sign up as soon as possible. Another question or a comment about noting that the regional manager in Ireland is limited to Dublin. I've heard this a couple of times and I'm not entirely sure where the worry is coming from there. The job advert says that the person can be based in Dublin or they can be home based. We don't mind. In the same way that I expect our regional managers who are all over the place to come into Leicester on the odd occasion for things, we would expect that individual also to come into our office in Dublin, but it shouldn't limit the number of people that are applying in any shape or form. In fact, I think we're interviewing very shortly, aren't we, Laurence?
Yes, we're starting the interviews tomorrow, so tomorrow until Thursday.
So hopefully that provides some reassurance. And then I think this question's also come up a few times about why isn't IOSH offering free courses like NCRQ? So the simple answer is that we have different business models. So IOSH unfortunately can't prescribe the price that is charged by our training provider network. So we distribute our training courses through private businesses. So even if we offered the courses for free, we cannot mandate that the training providers also provided it for free. So it would be a judgment call on the training providers. So we felt, because we were basically breaking the law in terms of competition law if we did, so we felt that what might be easier is to actually work with the training providers to help them trade through these difficult circumstances. So Richard Orton's team in strategic and business development have been working closely with providers to help them get online, providing credit facilities where it's necessary, if people are struggling with cash flow, that kind of thing. So that's why we haven't offered what NCRQ is. NCRQ have a different business model that allows them to do that. Okay, that's as far as I'd got with the questions. Are there any more that I haven't answered?
Can I just say, there's a few questions that have come through about the competency framework, and I know that a few chairs have already contacted Sunita about having a member of the presidential team sort of come into their virtual session, but as well as presenting on the competency framework, which I feel is really, really important right now, and it's going to be important as we come through the other side. There's also a presidential team presentation that we're taking around to the branches, which is to do with mental health and well-being as we come through the other side as well, and is something that David Gold has created with a view to branches being able to then cascade that out to their members. So I've put Sunita's email address on the chat, and so if anybody would like somebody from the team to present, then just send her an email.
So can I just ask, and maybe this is my simple brain, if that's global content that everybody really needs, considering we don't have the geographical boundaries, why are we bothering doing it at branch level? Why don't we just get the PT team or someone that's allegedly competent to deliver it as an IOSH branded, I say allegedly, I'm not competent, as an IOSH branded webinar, team meeting, whatever, and we will promote it. I'm struggling to understand why we simply do not, as IOSH, still understand the whole concept of collaboration. It's just stupid. It's just stupidly frustrating for me, because that is a clear example of it doesn't need to be done at branch level 30 times. It can be done once globally, and then you can go and catch up slides as a backup.
Yeah, you can, but what we're trying to encourage, I think there's a difference between what we're doing in terms of branch virtual sessions and webinars. So the whole benefit with the branch sessions is that you get the opportunity to do what we're doing now and having that two-way interaction. And I think that's a really important difference between what is a webinar and what we have here, because the whole point of the branch is to be, you know, part of the reason why we wanted to continue it was to give people active support so that they could come on and they could talk, because we were conscious of how people were feeling. And yes, we could do that. We could run it as a webinar and run it once and have it recorded and send it round to the branches, but the whole point is we want to interact and we want to talk, and you can't do that in the same way on a webinar. And I've done both now, so I kind of have seen the differences between both of them.
Maybe it's about doing one sort of global one which just talks about the principles, and then the branch one could be maybe a more interactive session, you know, exploring a particular part of the competency framework that members in that particular branch is a bit more practical. So I think there's probably room for both, but Renuka, I think you're right. It does seem crazy to repeat the same thing 20, 40 times over, however many times over. Louise, I guess we could probably pick that up with the presidential team. I'm happy to join one of your Friday calls for that.
Yeah, no, you know, we can do either, and it, you know, makes sense for David to, you know, create that. And I think we've also in the past spoken about the fact that if we're given presentations as branches, we can run with those as well.
Great, thank you. Conscious that we're just coming up to the end of our sort of allocated time. I'm happy to take a few more questions if people want to stay on. Sort of looking for some sort of nods perhaps around the room. Just do you want to finish now, or would you like to carry on a little bit? Give us a I'm looking at a blank screen of blank faces.
This is where everyone's supposed to talk.
I'm going to do two more questions then, and then those that we haven't answered, we'll make sure that we follow up in writing afterwards so that everybody does get an answer, if that's okay. So there was a question around, could we have an update on the member grade project? So we took a call. We were just about to release the second survey, I think the week of the lockdown or a day or so after the lockdown. And there was a huge debate in our project team about whether that was appropriate or not, given that folks would be sort of focusing on all the implications of what lockdown meant and potentially dealing with, you know, colleagues and family members that potentially were not well as well. So we decided to pause. So in the background, we've been getting on with some of the dull and boring work that's very necessary about the submission to the Privy Council, so that once we've got the survey results, we can literally just slot them in, tweak any of the sort of conclusions and keep ourselves on project track. So that work's been going on in the background, but actually we've decided that we think enough water has kind of gone under the bridge, that now we've sort of noticed other surveys have started to go out in you know, the sector, and feel that it would be okay to release the next stage of the survey. So Maria, I'm just trying to remember put you on the spot now, the date that it's due to go out again. Can you remember?
We've not actually just made a decision on that, but it'll be imminently. It will be in May. So it will be. Actually, let me just remind myself, because I think we have just decided, actually, haven't we?
Yes, we have two options.
And it yes. So yes. So it will. Well, I can't find that information, so apologies everybody, but it's, yeah, we'll share that following this meeting, but it is in the next couple of weeks, so it is in May. So yes, apologies that I couldn't rattle that off. But yes, as Vanessa said, we didn't think it was the right time to do the survey, and you know, at that point, and I think that was the right call. But we do need to progress on with this. It's really important. And I think one of the questions that somebody asked in the Q&A bit as what will this mean for chartered members, and hopefully the outcome of the review means that we'll be able to get the parity of chartered health and safety professionals with other chartered professions, so chartered accountants, for example. So this is what we're working on, and it's really important as we try and enhance the profession further. So it's crucial work. It's one of the priority projects that we identified at IOSH as needing to continue even during the lockdown phase. So to make sure we do still hit all those milestones and get everything done in the way we need to, we do just need to kind of power ahead with this. So that will be released soon. But yes, we will keep you all informed about what happens next with that.
Thanks, Maria.
Sorry, I just had one question there about the slides you showed earlier. With the are those going to be shared out to us?
Yes. So this whole meeting has been recorded. So we just need to do some touch-ups, editing, and a few other things. So it'll be sent back out to you as soon as we possibly can, because obviously we're aware that you'll probably want to share this with your committees. So yes, you'll have all of the slides and this whole presentation content as a recording sent to all of you after this meeting.
Sadly, I don't think the design team can kind of put another face on. Maybe they can in terms of touching up, but miracles may happen.
I'd just like to get it. We've got our legal update on the 5th, and it'd be good to share it with our branch members then.
They've been quite quick at turning these things around, so hopefully they will be equally speedy with this one. Thank you. I'm conscious that we've not got through all the questions, so as I say, we will follow up. But I guess it probably triggers the next poll question is, would you like another one of these? We're really happy to do them if it works for you. I think that's fairly clear, it's a yes. Great, I'm glad it's been useful. Excellent. I think in that case, we will look to organise another one for you. This doesn't just have to be for during the coronavirus pandemic. We're happy to do these at any stage. For me, it's great because it's a good way of keeping touch with you all and understanding what's going on and some of the questions and frustrations and ideas that you have. So I'm very, very happy to do these, and I know the team are too. So I think with that, thank you very much for attending, and it looks like we need to get another date in the diary for another one of these. So thank you very much.